y'all. Welcome back to another Thursday episode of Clapback Culture. I'm your co-host, Jules Jessie, alongside my co-host, Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, what's up, Julia?
Good. No complaints here. I mean, back again Friday Eve. Just glad the week is ending. What's up, Leon? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you guys back again every week. We couldn't be
Yes.
without y'all.
And we got something special, right?
We do. It is Women's History Month, you guys. And what better way to celebrate than recognizing the women in our communities? And so we do tonight, y'all. We have a special guest, a good friend of mine and business owner, Domonique Moore of Life Reign. She's in the backstage waiting for us. So we're going to have a conversation with her, but we have so much to talk about tonight, y'all. Like, I'm honestly just ready to get to the Jessie Smollett story because I cannot wait to hear your clapback, you guys. So quick teaser in the show, you guys, he was sentenced today, but we will get to all of that. But for right now, let's dive right on into it. We do have Domonique Moore. So say goodbye to Cuddy for a little while because the women are going to take over.
Do your thing. Do your thing. I'll see y'all in a minute.
All right, y'all. So like I said, I have Domonique Moore. We can go ahead and bring her on in, Cuddy. Hey,
Clapback family. How are you?
we're good. So you guys, well, I'll let you introduce yourself, but we do have Domonique here. She's from Life Reign, which is a nonprofit organization here in the District of Columbia, also in parts of Maryland. And it's Women's History Month. So what better than to have you come and talk about what you have on the menu? So Domonique, tell us who you are and why you are here.
Yes, ma'am. It is Women's History Month and congratulations, happy Women's International Day. Like, is it Women's History Month, Women's International Day? We got so much going on. But hi, everybody. I am Domonique Moore and I am the founder of Life Reign. I am a DCPS teacher. I teach in the grade Ward 8. I'm a middle school special education teacher. I also have this great company here called Life Reign. And Life Reign is a nonprofit organization. We are a community partner and agent. We've definitely tried to put our purpose into passion in everything that we do. We have initiatives in youth services, homelessness. We're working on abolishing incarceration. We work with the entire Black community and trying to just advance and find our niche wherever we can fit in. This month, as it is Women's History Month, we are running our second Life Reign's Women Influential Women's Campaign. We have 8 phenomenal women this year, including yourself, and we are hosting our first annual Pop-In Brunch at the District Lab in Oxon Hill, Maryland, on Sunday, March 20th from 2 to 7. Now, what is a Pop-In Brunch, you may ask? A Pop-In Brunch is 2 events in one. The pop-up is open to the public where you can come in and shop 20 fabulous, dynamic African-American women vendors. We have everything from soap to children's clothes to health and wellness. We have some legal counsel advice coming. And we're just really going to spend the evening empowering each other, networking, meeting new contacts, celebrating what we've accomplished, and just really trying to bridge the gap in the community and showcase all the talent that we have here. So if you are in the District of Columbia, Maryland, Nova, that DMV metropolitan area, come on out to the District Lab Sunday, March 20th from 2 to 7 and purchase a ticket to come celebrate, shop, brunch, and network with us at the District Lab.
All right, you guys. So the 2022 Influencer Women's Brunch, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it because, COVID is down a little bit. And so I'm happy to just do some stuff in person, kick back with my girls and, and network really. Like, would you say that this would be like a good networking event?
I definitely think this is a great networking event. There are so many different type of women from so many different walks of life. You yourself are one of the honorees. I'm really excited about that. And you have such an elaborate palette with your resume. We have women coming that are running for Congress. We have Miss Maryland International 22 coming. We have you coming. So there are some heavy hitters that I got kind of on the list that I'm excited about. So I really just want to create a safe, open space. It's really light for women to just connect and to build that bridge in their communities and see what else is out there. There's so many entrepreneurs that need advice, that are just starting. And then there's so many women in the group that are established that will be at the brunch. So it'll be a great opportunity for everybody to lend their advice, their trials, their journeys, and their successes to just, provide a very empowering moment for us to just sit back and say, I see you, sis. You're doing a great job.
I love that. I see you, sis. And that's really what Women's History Month is about. But you guys, this is Domonique Moore of Life Reign. Can we put that flyer back up? Let's just let the people know it's a shop, brunch, and networking event, the 2022 Influential Women's Pop and Brunch. Come to shop, come to have brunch, come to network. For more information and where you can purchase a ticket, pull up to Life Reign's Instagram at Life REIGN _ Life Reign. Pull up, follow, tag, do everything. You do not want to miss this. It's going to be in the DMV at the District Lab, March 20th. I will be there. I'm so happy.
Yes, you will, friend. You are one of the honorees, and congratulations. Everybody, clap back, crew. Let's just give Jules Jessie a nice round of applause for everything that she has accomplished. She's such an inspiration. Thank you. Also, perfect example. We have bridged the gap and lended an opportunity, a great outlet to showcase. I'm glad that everybody is still watching the show and is going on. So we're just going to pray and continue for much success on your end. And congratulations, my sister. I can't wait.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to be in the room with the who's who, child. So like I said, you guys, this is a great time. Make sure you go to Life Reign Instagram, see how you can purchase. Follow Life Reign, you guys. You do not want to miss this brunch. Domonique, thank you so much for coming on the show. We love to have you again.
Thank you, sis. I'm going back to being a viewer now. Thank you for having me as a guest, everybody.
All right. See you soon. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Man, come on, you guys. Women's History Month. I just can't wait. We're going to continue to highlight these stories, but let's go ahead and bring Mike Davis back. We got to let the men back in the room, you guys. All right. Welcome back, Mike.
Hey, that was dope, man. Y'all don't forget about Seattle too when you're making your events, man. You know what I'm saying? Your roots is here. Don't forget about us.
Oh yeah, you know what? Maybe we could put together a little something for Seattle, but DC is like home base now.
I know. Y'all got all the black folks too, so it's gonna be popping out there.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm really looking forward to this. And next week we're gonna have another guest, a special guest, really for the remainder of the month. And so this is something that Mike and I really wanted to add into Clapback, was to bring on guests. So you guys let us know if you want to see more guests on the show. Drop us a note, drop us a comment, let us know. Because we want to make this show and build this show around you and what you guys like to see. All right, so back to our regular scheduled program, you guys. We might as well just dive right into it.
Back to business.
Now, I did not think that this trial was going to go this way, you guys, but James and Jennifer Crumbley are absolutely going to stand trial. A judge ordered the parents of Ethan Crumbley and said that they are, their alleged roles in the deadly Oxford High School shooting, that they are responsible because they did not exercise ordinary care and diligence in the care for their son. So we have a clip of what transpired here in the courtroom. The clip is about 2 minutes and 50 seconds, a little bit long, but oh my God, so worth watching. So let's take a look. Cuddy, if you guys can play that beautiful B footage, we'll come back and talk about it.
All right, now we're going to turn to breaking news in the wake of the Oxford High School tragedy. Tonight, the parents of the accused shooter ordered to stand trial.
We have team coverage from the courthouse in Rochester Hills, and we want to begin with 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell with the judge's decision. Kim?
Yes, the focus of the hearing today came down to ordinary care. That is the legal phrase for the care that a parent has to provide a child to not be legally responsible for actions that the child commits that are hurtful. And the judge agreed with prosecutors that James and Jennifer Crumbley did not provide their child with ordinary care.
The court finds that the deaths of the 4 victims could have been avoided if James and Jennifer Crumbley exercised ordinary care and diligence in the care of their son.
52nd District Court Judge Julie Nicholson ruled James and Jennifer Crumbley should face trial for 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for the deaths of Tate Meir, Madison Baldwin, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling, the classmates of their son killed when he allegedly shot 11 people at Oxford High School in November. In court today, an Oakland County Sheriff's Sergeant described what was allegedly found in Ethan Crumbley's bedroom after the shooting. Prosecutors shared pictures of a coin with a Nazi symbol, a dresser covered in rodent feces, ammo, and target shooting silhouettes on the wall. They shared surveillance video of Ethan Crumbley at firearm stores with his mom target shooting. They shared messages Ethan sent a friend saying he asked his mom and dad to take him to the doctor because he was suffering from hallucinations and a mental breakdown. But his dad allegedly told him to suck it up.
There is nothing in those texts that says, I believe our son has the gun at school and is going to commit a mass shooting.
Correct.
Defense attorneys argued James and Jennifer Crumbley did not know their son was a danger. The message from prosecutors is that James and Jennifer Crumbley did not know because they did not provide ordinary care to their son.
He wasn't taken to the doctor. He asked for help. I mean, you all heard the testimony over and over again, and they were just indifferent. So the fact that they had medical insurance available and didn't use it is just one more piece of this complete disregard. You know, they didn't care.
There were times in court when they also read a journal that Ethan Crumbley allegedly wrote in which he described his plans to carry out a school shooting. There was emotion in the courtroom as it was read that he planned to kill a pretty girl with a bright future first. People had to leave the courtroom.
All right. Well, listen, the thoughts that I had about this and saying that the parents probably weren't responsible, I totally take that back and eat my words. There's also another thing to note, you guys, that came out. The prosecution, they sought to introduce evidence that the parents were operating a grow farm or had like a grow operation in the basement. And a police testified that the Crumbleys had like the equipment in the basement. But the defense objected, arguing that the information was irrelevant to the case, and the judge sustained the objection. So we didn't get to hear more about that, but I'm wondering if that's going to pop up later on. But when we're having a conversation about this, right, the goal of the prosecution was to prove that the parents did not exercise ordinary care and diligence in the care of their son. And I think they really did a good job in painting that picture. The gun, was in a lockbox, but it wasn't locked, and the code was 0000. They talked about the conditions of this child's room. They talked about the number of hours that he spent by himself. There was 20 pages of journal entries that really spoke to him having these mental breakdowns, these hallucinations, and very boldly. And, allegedly Ethan Crumbley, I mean, he even blames his parents for what he was about to do. He says that, he brought this up as per written in his journal. He brings up to his father, that he really needs some help. And his dad gives him some pills and tells him to suck it up. In text messages that he wrote to his friend, he's also reaching out to his friend saying that his parents won't listen to him, that he's, let them know that he's having these issues, that he's having mental problems, and it's causing him to want to shoot up the school. And where are the parents in all of this? And so I'm interested to hear from any parents in the comments. Let me know, what do you feel is, exercising ordinary care and diligence in the care for your children? Mike, how are you feeling about all of this and taking this in and everything that we know now?
It's shocking, to be honest, because like you, I mean, I think I hoped that we would make it to a place where there would be some accountability for the parents. But I just didn't see it happening. So to be here in this place, seeing that clip, following up on everything that's happened in this case, wow, I didn't expect it. even in that clip, though, one thing that was jarring for me was just like the state of the room that this kid was living in. They talk about all the time that he spent in his room, and then they talk about how his desk was covered in rat feces. Like, that's shocking. Like, just the conditions that this kid was living in. But I think some of the things that you pointed out is probably what this case is going to hinge on. Things like the code to the lockbox being 000. Like, that's like when we say, yes, you could buy the gun for the kid, but it's supposed to be somewhere secure. Well, if it's in a safe and the code is all zeros, well, now that gun isn't secure, and that kid had access to that gun, and then he used it to kill 4 people. Also, the father ignored the cries for help. Like, he asked for help. He knew that mentally he was having some really serious issues. He went to his parents for that help, and his dad tells him to suck it up. Yo, that's going to come back to bite him. And then the journal entries as well. I mean, as a parent, you have to have some sort of communication with your kid. And when you have just pages and pages and pages of these journal entries where the kid is talking about what he's fantasizing about, and he's talking about reaching out to his parents for help, and all of these things are ignored, and the kid ends up shooting these people. I mean, it looks to me like these parents should definitely end up doing some sort of time. I mean, yikes. It's just, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just shocked that we actually made it to this point, man. These is white folks. I thought they were going to walk away. I really, really do.
A typical Mike Davis thought there, but I agree. I'm actually really shocked. I think Leon's comment, where he mentions that, he's not, he's not anxious to, start charging parents for things that they don't know. And I think that, well, really, that's a combination between Harry Jefferson and Leon's comment in that, if you're a parent, how, what set of privacy do you offer to your kids? Are you going through their phone? Are you going through their journal entries? But what I do recognize in this that I think that the parents have failed was during the incident. And so when they came up to the school, excuse me, this was the second incident that they were called to the school. And the counselor identified that their son may be having thoughts of suicide. And the parents did not take off work to deal and to work with their child. And to me, I feel like that alone is enough to, I guess, hold them responsible. James Crumbly, Ethan's father, is a DoorDash driver. And one thing that we know about that is, you make your own hours, right? It's nobody telling you when you can and cannot go to work. And so if both of the parents are leaving work to show up to the school for this meeting, to have this meeting the second day, and you see, what your child is drawing, that they have access to firearms, how interested they are in firearms, and you absolutely know your child. Something that was brought up in the case, you guys, is that when the shooting occurred, James Crumbly went home to go see if the gun was gone. And I'll tell you this, if there's a school shooting at my child's school, I would never think that my child would be the shooter. So if your first thought is, well, damn, that might be my kid being.
It wasn't even about safety. It wasn't even about the safety of his son. It was,
let me go home and see, did he have that gun?
Exactly.
And so if that is your first thought, then what were the steps that you missed or did not take before it got to that point? And both of the parents felt like, one, the mother texted him and said, Ethan, don't do it. And the father went home to check the gun and called 911 and said, hey, I think it's my son. I'm on my way to see, is the gun there? Then he said the gun is absolutely missing. And so there were a ton of missteps. And I think there was also
a question for you, a question really also for like Leon and Harry Jefferson as well. The point of the parent responsibility, I don't think it's as simple as should we charge parents for knowing or not knowing? Because if the kid went and got the gun on his own and committed this crime, I think it's a different conversation. The fact that his parents bought him the gun, his parents are the ones that taught him how to use the gun, and then the parents put the gun in a safe where the combination was all zeros, I think that puts the parents in a very different situation than than the kid that's making pipe bombs in the garage that nobody notices. Like this kid didn't sneak and learn how to use a gun.
Right.
This kid didn't sneak and become mentally unstable. Nah, they bought him the weapon, taught him how to use the weapon, and then ignored all of the cries for help when he came to them and was talking about his mental issues. So I think that this case is different than a lot of other cases that we see where kids do really, really bad things to people. Like these parents absolutely played a part in this.
I agree. So that wraps it up. Let's move on. All right, y'all. Another person that's making the news is the Fort Lauderdale police chief, former Fort Lauderdale police chief, you guys, because he was fired over, minority first practices in hiring and promotions. Imagine that. But again, y'all, Florida, we know how they do, but the city of Fort Lauderdale fired him. He was working less than a year, Mike Davis, as the police chief. And it's alleged, after an investigation, it's alleged that he was doing discriminatory practices. His name is Police Chief Larry Scarotto, right? And so Scarotto, he talked to CNN, and in a statement, he goes on to talk about, what all was revealed. So he was hired in mid-August. And by November, the city had launched an investigation. They hired a law firm to investigate the complaints of discrimination. In their findings, there was a report. Over 21 people came out as witnesses in that report. And they identified that his promotion practices were that he was promoting people of color. And Scarotto, he told CNN that, during that time, he promoted 15 people from August to November. And of that group, 6 were ethnic or gender minorities selected for promotions based on their merit. He also goes on to say that none of them were promoted because they were in a protected class. They were promoted because they were the best candidates. Well, he also says, he's going to take this one to the bank. So if promoting diversity is the hill I'm going to die on, I will sleep well tonight. I won't allow them to tarnish my reputation. I won't allow them to tarnish the work I've done in the last 24 years that I've been in this profession. So he's doubling down on his practices. And he's basically saying that he was really intentional in his decision-making process and that he absolutely was trying to promote diversity and inclusion because that is what the community had been asking for. And so what he was really saying, Mike Davis, is how is it as a police department, are we going to say that diversity and inclusion is paramount in what we do, but we don't see it on our police force? And so he doubled down and they didn't like it.
Yo, Florida's wild. Florida is a wild
just in a nutshell
place. But this was crazy too, though, because when I just reading through what was going down, I mean, there was like 15 hires that he made that they looked at. Out of those 15, 6 of them were either ethnic or gender minorities. So, I mean, come on, like 6 out of 15, that's not even half. If we go look at the former police chief, I'd be very curious to look at every 15 people he hired and how many ended up being white. Because one thing that this chief who was fired, he was walking through and he was like seen a wall of all the employees' pictures up. It was like the high-ranking folks in the police force, and it was all white people. And his comment was, "Wow, that's a really white wall. I'm gonna change that." But people didn't like that comment. So, I mean, what are we really talking about here? It's not like he just went and hired only minorities. Like when there were minority candidates that were qualified for positions, he hired them. He was intentional about trying to target them and bring them into interview processes. But I mean, this is going to be a really hard thing to prove. This is crazy how Florida wields their laws. It's just good gracious, man. Florida stays on this show. They stay doing something that brings them. Ain't neither one of us in Florida, but they stay on clapback all the time.
Yes, they do. And man, it's just a wild town out there, man.
Hey, shout out to him though, for real though, like because he's right. If the community is asking for the police force to be more representative and reflective of the community that they serve, it's the right thing to do to try to make that happen. I hope he gets
it is. And also it's important that we are intentional in hiring practices. Yeah. And guess what? If people are hired based on their merit, it's kind of like the argument that they're trying to make with President Biden saying that he's going to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court and saying that that was discriminatory. But really, it's just intentional, because at what point do we finally get representation, right?
Right.
And so I don't think that you can't call that discriminatory if the numbers just don't fit. If the baseline is all white men on the police force, then it's like, hey, we need to mix it up, because how are we promoting diversity and inclusion when we don't see anybody that looks like you or me?
No, you're absolutely right. And the people that speak against this, they tell on themselves all the time, because when they see like the judge being hired by Biden, or they see what this guy did, the first thing that they do is try to take this to a place of, well, qualified candidates didn't get hired. But really, that's not true. We're not talking about unqualified people of color getting these positions. These people are highly, highly qualified. We live in a country, unfortunately, where a lot of these folks who are highly qualified just never do get opportunities when we have a quote unquote level playing field. So it does take extra intention to bring these types of folks on, but it doesn't mean that they're not qualified. I mean, the judge that Biden just hired, I mean, man, she went to Harvard. She had a full career as a lawyer. So to have someone on the Tucker Carlson show come out and say they want to see her grades from college, I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. That wasn't what he said when Trump was making his appointees. So, I mean, they're telling on themselves, and we know what the game is.
We should have brought that into a clap back. We might bring that back next week, you guys. Well, look, speaking of President Biden, Biden is banning Russian oil and natural gas imports. He made the announcement on Tuesday. Here's what he had to say. Let's take a look.
President Biden announced the U.S. is now banning Russian oil imports into the country.
That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine.
The administration had been reluctant to take the step out of concern over soaring gas prices, but the White House has been under increasing political and public pressure to enact the ban. No Russian oil! A new national poll shows the majority of Americans, around 71%, say they support the ban, even if it means paying more for gas.
As far as I'm concerned, gas prices are irrelevant. The only thing that matters is that we take a stand.
The European Union is not expected to follow suit. Europe relies on Russia for about 40% of its energy.
The United States produces far more oil domestically than all the European countries combined. In fact, we're a net exporter of energy. So we can take this step when others.
Well, Mike Davis, I mean, this is, we're doubling down on the sanctions. We're doubling down. So, I mean, huge spike in gas prices right now. I mean, I know you're the Tesla guy, so you don't care. But for the average American, I mean, the average price right now across the country is $4.14. It's a huge high since 2008. It actually surpassed what we saw in 2008. What do you guys think in the comments? What do you say here? I mean, is this the way to go? And do you mind? Are you in support of this ban? And are you okay with it hitting your pockets?
I'm not, but I mean, I'm not, but I understand it. I think where I come from on this is just that in our country, we're not getting our oil from Russia. So like, yeah, we get to take this stand, but I mean, is it really going to affect us? Like when we just seen in that clip, even Biden said it himself, like we're exporting it. We're not bringing it in. This is going to affect a lot of those countries in Europe. So I think really it's on them. And what's it going to mean for their citizens? And when you look at what gas prices are across the pond, they're like twice as high as they are here. So it's like those folks over there really are the ones that have to eat this. So, I mean, he can do this if this is what he wants to do. But I just don't really feel like it's my place to say yay or nay, because it's not really affecting us here in that way. So, I mean, it's a step. It's another step to take. It's another way to hurt Russia. But I mean, I don't know, man. Putin's a gangster. I just don't really see this being the thing that makes Putin back down.
Well, this is definitely, I think it's important that, the United States does take a stand. And this is just, again, one of the many things that they're going to do to attack the economy in Putin's war. It's difficult to say whether or not this is what is actually driving up gas prices, because gas prices were already astronomically high, right? So I purchased gas yesterday for $4.99 a gallon. That's absolutely insanity. To fill up my car was $75. It actually didn't fill it up all the way. I was complaining to Rodney that it didn't fill it up. But $75. And, I'm lucky enough and blessed enough right now that I can financially afford to fill my truck up. But again, we're moving back to life being reopened and moving back to having to go to work every day and, getting on this commute and driving a car with $5 at $5 a gallon is just, it's insane. But it was already high, right? Like before it was like 475, 489 for, at 489, and it's going up, additional 10 cents. It's not that big of a difference right now. But I do feel for the average American who can't, fill up their gas tank like that and has a lot of obligations with taking their kids back and forth to school, going back and forth to work, or even, DoorDash drivers, Uber drivers, that, this is really going to directly affect how much they can make money. And so there are people, that this is really going to hit their pockets and really stifle them in a lot of ways. And so I hope the Biden administration has a bailout for some of those people, especially maybe Uber drivers, taxi drivers. But we're going to see this hit, and we're going to see it in fuel prices for airline tickets. I mean, it's going to be across the board. So we are.
And I think we should follow up because, I heard something in passing, and I don't want to report it because it wasn't news. It was literally like a conversation. But, the U.S. does export oil, and there are a lot of families like Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, who people are reporting the higher oil prices go, the more money he makes off with oil. So it's like, it's just a weird thing, man. I never can really trust America, and I can never really trust the American government. Like, and you said it yourself, like, is this Russia situation what's really making gas prices higher? Or is it because America is so greedy that we would allow people to jack prices up? I don't know. So I think that that's something that we should definitely follow up on. But also, man, maybe I'm just naive, but I just don't really see this. I don't see Russia invading Ukraine leading to World War III.
You're tripping. I mean,
we could take it there if we needed to, but like,
no, we don't want to take
what's in Ukraine that has the U.S. so pressed about not letting Russia take it, besides we just don't want them to? Like, what does Ukraine have? Like, what do they export? Like, they don't have any natural material. They don't have anything that we need. This is just us being big dog trying to tell somebody else what to do.
I totally disagree with you.
What's the counter? What's the counter argument?
My counter argument is that if Russia has the ability to take over an entire country and foul swoop their entire democracy, what stops them from doing that to any other country? And
NATO.
So right now it's Ukraine.
NATO stops them. Ukraine wasn't a part of NATO. They didn't want to be. They did want to be, but they weren't. So it's not like Russia is going to take Ukraine and then they're going to be able to take just more and more European nations. There's fail safes against them being able to do that.
But that's really why Russia, swooped in at the time that they did, because there was an agreement on the table for Ukraine to join NATO. Right? NATO was saying, okay, we're open to having that conversation and bring you into the fold. And Russia took that as a threat. And they took that as a threat, like, you're too close to us. And so what stops Russia? First of all, what gives Russia the audacity to feel like they can come over and bomb people and kill people and blow up residential buildings, blow up maternity wards?
The same thing that gives the U.S. the audacity to do that. We do the same thing, and we support countries that do the same thing. Israel is doing it literally right now, and they're doing it on our dime. And when anybody steps up against Israel, then our media swoops in and calls them terrorists and points them as the villain. We do it. We We don't want anybody else doing what we do. That's what it really comes down to. There's nothing. Russia's not going to take over the world by taking Ukraine. They wouldn't even take Europe by having Ukraine. There's nothing there.
Russia is a huge enemy of the United States and a huge superpower of the world. If Putin feels like pulling up with some nuclear weapons, I think the least we can do is say we're gonna pull back this oil, but we need to just relax and not start a war. I'm telling you, I'm not playing with this situation, Mike Davis. You can talk to your ass catch on fire. We don't need to be having no play with Putin. That's just Putin is like Donald Trump on crack. Like, we don't want that smoke. Do you want that smoke?
We're the ones doing it. I didn't want us to do anything. I'd rather have sat this out. Like,
we just need to chill. But I mean, I'm cool with the sanctions and I'm cool with supporting the people in Ukraine. But listen, y'all, I'm not with the smoke. I love the comments section is blowing up. Y'all,
I know.
Y'all pull up in Mike Davis's DMs tonight.
Everybody's clapping at me, man. But look, man, I'm just trying to tell y'all, man.
You're like the guy holding the nuclear trigger.
Man, like, this wasn't our beef, man. We put ourselves into this beef, man. Europe could handle their own problems, man. They didn't need the U.S. sticking our nose in it, man. Fighting for democracy. Democracy doesn't even exist. Where's democracy at, man? Please, we can't even. Don't get me started on democracy. Give us voting rights. How about we make us a democracy before we start trying to do global democracy?
I don't know, Mike Davis. You're not with me on this. But look, y'all, we're gonna take
nobody with me.
We listen. Mike wants all the smoke tonight. I don't want no smoke. We're gonna go to break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about something a little bit more light, but we're gonna talk about how Jay-Z gave that smoke to the NFL. We'll be back.
When the pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to a doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
All right, y'all. Well, Snoop Dogg is opening up about the historic Super Bowl event, you guys. And he's talking about the halftime performance show. And he says that Jay-Z went to bat for him and all of the performers. And as you know, Jay-Z, since 2019, has been working with the NFL via his company Rock Nation to enhance live game experiences and to amplify the league's social justice efforts. In an interview with Elliott Wilson, Snoop Dogg basically said that Snoop Dogg said that Jay-Z gave the NFL an ultimatum. And he said, you cannot switch up this show, and either you're going to let the performers perform the show and allow them to remain true to their brand, or he's going to walk away from the partnership. And so Snoop was really excited that Jay-Z did that and actually pretty shocked. So I think that's pretty, I think that's exactly what Rock Nation stands for in terms of their partnership with the NFL.
You're absolutely right. I think that, the thing that with Jay-Z is, he got hired right at the time that all that Kaepernick stuff was happening. So, a lot of people had a lot of smoke for him for partnering with the NFL. But in this particular situation, this is actually what he was hired to do. He was hired to oversee the entertainment of the NFL. So him putting this halftime show together and bringing in these acts, he wanted them to be able to be themselves. And if the NFL wasn't going to let him do his job, then he was going to walk. So shout out to Jay-Z, man. Like, this is what he was here to do. And he stood up for it. He did his job. And we got one of the best halftime shows that I can remember.
We sure did. And I think it's important that we finally got to see Jay-Z really show up and clap back at the criticism. So there's that. WNBA star Brittany Griner detained in Russia. I know you guys probably heard about this, but the superstar basketball player, two-time Olympic basketball gold medalist, was detained in Russia for what they alleged of her having, being accused of smuggling a significant amount of narcotic substances. I guess she had a vape pen and the oil cartridges with, some articles are quoting it as hashish. But it's an offense punishable up to 10 years in prison. So is this a bargaining chip for Russia and the United States, or what's going to happen? Because a lot of people are in support. The United States government is talking about this. President Biden's administration is working to get Garner out of Russia. And they actually met with members of the Congressional Black Caucus about this on Monday. So this is a big deal, but a U.S. representative is basically saying, like, this is not going to be an easy thing to do.
This is wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
They hit her with drug trafficking for having a vape pen and a couple extra cartridges. I think the significant piece, though, that we see here is just the fact that so many WNBA players have to go to Russia to play because they pay them so much more over there than they do over here. That's a whole different story. But in Russia, they just, the oligarchs over there just want to have the best sports team. So, it's a game to them. They don't care about operating at net losses. So, they pay these super exorbitant salaries to have some of the best athletes from around the world come and play in their leagues. And I say this because, she's been playing basketball over there. She's been going back and forth. I'm sure she's brought vape pens over there in the past. But what we see right here is this happened to happen at the time that they're going to war. U.S. has all these sanctions. And now she's become a political prisoner, which really, really sucks because now she's being used as a bargaining chip. The crazy thing I seen was on ESPN when one of their anchors were talking about the fact that everybody keeps saying, well, if this was this player or that player, it would be so much of a bigger story. But her people want this story to be as small as possible. The bigger that this story becomes, the more leverage that Russia has to use her as a bargaining chip against the U.S. So it's a super, super weird situation. As someone said in the comments, it's very, very scary. She's a prisoner of war in a Russian prison as they're literally at war with Ukraine. This is wild. I hope she's safe, but it's crazy.
And her family doesn't even have a lot of details about where she's being detained. Her wife has not been able to speak with her. She posted a message on Instagram. I'll read it to you guys. It says, "We love you, babe. People say stay busy, yet there's not a task in this world that could keep any of us from worrying about you. Our hearts are all skipping beats every day that goes by. I miss your voice. I miss your presence. You're our person. There are no words to express the pain. I'm hurting. We're hurting. We await the day to love on you as a family." Sorry, I broke that up. But that is from Griner's wife. And it's really sad. We think about this as a story, but this family is actually being really affected, and this is still a person.
Yes.
And I agree.
And people are blaming her. That's the crazy thing. Like somebody in the comments right now, my guy Darnell, learn the rules. You got to understand, man. She's been playing over there for years. She's been going back and forth for years. It was never going to be a problem until they declared war and needed her to leverage against our country. Before that, she was going back and forth as she pleased. So it's way more complicated than her just getting caught slipping on a humbug. This was her being used. Like she's being used by the Russian government right now.
I agree, but I also agree with Darnell that she should have been smarter. I mean, when she was detained on February 17th, she knew that there was absolutely a fucking war going on. So, I mean, it's not like, I wouldn't think like, oh, I'm going to be this bargaining chip. You just never think it's going to be you. But that is why you have to move in offense and not be on the defense. You just gotta be smarter. But that's not to say that she deserves this, right? And so I hope that she is returned safely to her family, and I'm in full support of getting her home. This is just, sure. A vape pen is a vape pen is a vape pen. Like this is
not drug trafficking. That's wild. That's a wild claim. Right.
And she deserves to be home with her family. So we're looking forward to that. Oh, another story that came in today. Ryan Coogler, y'all, detained at Bank of America. This story is so gnarly. He is the director of Black Panther, and he was mistaken for a bank robber. And I don't even know how he was mistaken for a bank robber. So he went into the bank, y'all, and he wrote on the back of his withdrawal slip that he wanted to withdraw $12,000 from his personal bank account, and that he wanted the teller to use discretion and not count out the $12,000 at the, at the teller. You know what I'm saying? He wanted her to go in the back and count it with discretion so he could get that large sum of money and walk out without it being a big deal. Well, the bank teller did not take too well to that. And before she could do anything, she took his ID because he did give that to her. He swiped his Bank of America card, as you guys know, to identify himself. But she says that she kept trying to have conversation with him, and he just kept pointing to the note. So I don't know, Mike. I think she got nicked up, and then she called 911, and he got detained to be a bank robber.
Yo, this is racism, man. I don't care what color this teller may or may not have been. Get out of here. He gave you his ID. He had his bank card. He put in his PIN number. Who's robbing a bank with their own ID and their own PIN number? Don't tell me that he looked like a bank robber because he had on shades, a hat, and a mask. It's COVID. We all got on a mask. He has on shades because he's famous. He's in Atlanta. Black man is out here trying not to get robbed and ends up getting arrested. Man, this is wild. That lady needs to lose her job. The manager too. All transactions over 10K had to be approved by the manager. She told her manager she was uncomfortable. Manager said, call the police. They should both be fired. They should both be fired. And Ryan Coogler, who has an obscene amount of money, should never bank with Bank of America ever again a day in his life. This is ridiculous. Did you hear the call? Like the 911 call? The 911 dispatcher didn't even want to dispatch. Like she said that, but she had to because they called. But she knew, like it just nothing added up, man. It is racist.
I think the sad thing is that every single person in this situation was Black. The police officer was Black. The bank teller was Black. The branch manager was Black. Man, the 911
sound Black too.
Sound Black too. So it's just like, even though this is definitely profiling. I mean, listen, y'all, I used to work at the bank. I used to work at Washington Mutual before they went under. And I remember when I would be in the bank and people would pull out their notes and go in their jacket and stuff. I would always have that clenched feeling like, is this the time I'm going to get robbed? Girl, if you read the back of the note, you would have known. And Mike, can I just tell you that it is absolutely such a real thing. When I went into the bank to get a cashier's check to purchase my car, you guys, I put a large sum of money down on my new car. And the bank teller was talking so loud, like, oh, what are you going to go do? What do you need all this money for? And I'm like, girl,
what are you doing? Yeah.
Quiet down, tone it down. And so I understand why Ryan went in there, had the note. Had she read the note, had she done her due diligence to pull up the account, she would have known. I mean, how do you read Ryan Coogler's name, see his ID from the state of California, and not know that's him?
He doesn't know who he is, man. She should be ashamed of herself. He talked to the police too. Like, there was a body cam footage of him having a conversation with the police, and he was saying, like, I understand your perspective. You got called. You had to respond. He's like, understand my perspective. People was outside smoking when I walked into the bank. I didn't want to walk in here and broadcast how much money I'm taking out. Man, that's valid.
And that's why he had on sunglasses. He's the man is trying not to get robbed. Okay. And then he ends up being handcuffed. I mean, I just can't imagine. I mean, the profiling there is just out of control. I agree with everybody on the chat that these bankers need to be fired. They need to be.
He kept such a cool head too, man. I'm glad that he kept his cool.
He was tight though. If you guys watch the video, he was tight.
Now he was mad, but like he didn't blow his top. It could have got ugly if he did.
Oh man, I mean, he settled with Bank of America. He said that they came to an agreement and that, he just doesn't want to make any further comment and statements. So, I mean, I don't know what conclusion or resolution they came to, but man, when you make a conclusion to Bank of America, it's probably going to be good. So Amari said it best this morning. If we see some ads from Bank of America for the next film that he promotes, we know that's where that relationship and partnership came from. So hopefully he uses that as a political bargaining chip.
There we go.
All right, y'all. Man, we're running down.
Just
I
keep it
mean,
rolling.
okay, let's just keep it rolling real quick, y'all. Jussie Smollett, he was sentenced in the hate crime, y'all. They gave him 150 days in jail for lying to the police about that fake hate crime. It's crazy. Legal experts were saying that it was unlikely that he was going to get a prison sentence, but he absolutely did.
Hey, man, he's a wild liar. I ain't never seen nobody ride a lie out like he did.
He doubled and then went in and did a statement and still doubled down. I mean, he spoke.
I think he believes is he innocent? Nah, he can't be innocent, man. He almost got me. But
I mean, he's taking that one all the way. I mean,
all the way.
He just listen. At this point, he needs to just do the 150 days, bro.
For real, man. Fall back. You got lucky. It could have been worse.
150 days is a long time, though. That's how serious you are.
But he pissed the police off in a way that low key he could have got more time. He got lucky. He better take those 150. This dude, all the money that he cost that state to go through with this farce of a case, please.
Yeah. Well, look, y'all, we have one more story I want to bring up real quick before we go. And Darnell, you brought it up and we spoke about it real quick last week. That the discrimination against Africans and really just people of color in Ukraine during this, entire crisis. We do have a clip. Let's take a look.
By images of Black students in Ukraine trying to flee war, and instead being met by racism. For decades, Ukraine has courted students from Africa as part of the country's tradition of providing affordable higher education to all. Now, Ukrainian universities house more than 76,000 foreign students. That's according to the BBC, with nearly a quarter of them from Africa and more than 20,000 from India. Now, as Russia creeps across the country, thousands of these students have attempted to flee to safety only to be caught in the grips of racism.
We still have people trapped, like in Sumy in Ukraine. There are students, thousands of them trapped because the bridges has been destroyed by bombs and everything, so they can't move. They are trapped there. No more food, no more water. So how are they going to feed? How are they going to survive?
Absolutely devastating. Joining me now is Kimberly St. Julian Varnon. She's an expert in the history of Ukraine and Russia, and Alexander Santu-Ora, a student at the State of University of Telecommunications in Kyiv, who has just fled to Poland. Alexander, I'm so happy you're here. You're one of the thousands of students fleeing the violence that we were just talking about. You were turned away twice at the border. Please tell our viewers about your experience.
Okay, the first experience I witnessed was in Kyiv Station, which is called Vokzana. They told us it's only for women and children to get in first before the men.
Y'all, this is something that has been talked about a lot. I wish we had more time to talk about this, Mike, but can you imagine, like, during all of this, you just got time to be racist?
Hell yeah, I can imagine, man. They're racist over there. I don't see, man. This is I catch all the heat because I'm not out here with no Ukraine flag and I'm not doing everything that all y'all's doing. But man, they're racist over there, man. It ain't no secret that they don't like black folks in Eastern Europe. This ain't new. We've been knew this. And like, you know what I'm saying? And people giving shouts out to Poland for taking in all the Ukrainian, man. They ain't trying to take no black folks into Poland. So it's like, look, man. You can be super supporters of all you want, but like, let's be real. When these Ukrainians become refugees, the whole world wants to rally and bring them in. Right here in the United States, we're going to have all of these refugees coming in. We didn't let the Haitians in.
I know.
No, we didn't. You know what I'm saying? All the money, we're sending money over there to Ukraine, man. We ain't got no reparations for black folks. We can't get nothing out of America. But let some white folks need something and everybody's going to rally, man. Yeah, it's racist. We knew it, though. I ain't surprised.
Nah, you're hella right about this, Mike. I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw this and they were not letting black people get on trains and, African and Indians, like people from from India, it's insanity, and you're just thinking they're just, they're at it trying to get their own thing. I mean,
and these are students, man. Like, don't act like these. It's crazy how they're trying to paint this. Like, these are literally people that were there trying to get an education, man. You won't let African students into your country? That's despicable.
It is despicable. But I think you bring up a good point that, it's I hate to say it's par for the course, but it's just like, it's something that's already been happening, right? Like, why all of a sudden would they just say, oh, nah, let me give you a cut in front of the line? No, Black people always have to get in the back of the line. And especially when we talk about, Haiti, I mean, their president was assassinated and we didn't do enough for Haiti. Like, their president was assassinated, blown up, shot up, posted on social media, like did not have no government, like actually was overthrown. And we didn't have nothing for Haiti. Nothing. The United States didn't do half as much as they're doing for Ukraine. So I agree with you. I mean, when it's Black people, and Black and brown people in a position where they absolutely need help, I don't think America steps in the same way. So
They don't. They're going to condemn Russia for dropping bombs on hospitals and schools in Ukraine. And that's wrong. Don't like, for real, like that. That's absolutely wrong for Russia to do. But don't act like we didn't do that to Syria, because we did. So miss me with that, man. America be on some BS sometimes.
Yeah, but well, Leon is saying, but that won't cause a World War III. I mean,
World War III over Haiti.
Yeah,
man, we can talk about this all day. We might have to bring this back.
We will. We'll bring it back. Well, look, y'all, that's the end of our show. Of course, we wanted to bring everything to you, but we are just out of time. Mike Davis, tomorrow's Friday. It is, another week until we see each other again. When you're not here, where can they find you?
South Seattle Emerald. You can find me wherever you find the Emerald. Also, Wednesday mornings, I'm on the morning update show. And as y'all know, man, Thursday nights, I'm kicking it right here with y'all.
All right. And I'm Jules Jessie. You guys can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Treasure of JULES. You know what it is. And we're so glad to have you. Please make sure you guys pull up, send us show topics. What do you want to talk about? Let us know and tag a guest if you have a guest that
Who's here next week? Who's here next week?
Next week, we're going to have India Blocker. She's going to tell us about another influencers brunch that she's going to have right here in the District of Columbia. So we'll have her and more coming up this month.
That's what's up.
All right, y'all. That's Clapback Culture. That's our show. Until next week.
Peace.
Peace.